Hello, ladies and gentlemen, 'tis I, Michael A. Grimm, aka the Multi-Voice. I'm many voices, but one opinion. And today I'm going to be talking about something that I grew up and experienced in my past. And one thing to know that I was born in 1985. That's right, I am 40 years old. I know I don't look it, but I get that a lot. But anyway, one thing I'm going to be talking about is my experience between, you know, TV channels and also the streaming service. Now, from the beginning, I was really, really young, and TV was the big deal at the time. And back then, people had two options: satellite or cable. So they can have so many channels, so many to watch back then, before streaming service was invented. And I remember that I wasn't born in Indiana. I mean, I was born in Richmond, Virginia, but I went to preschool in Texarkana, Arkansas. And I went to a preschool in Texarkana, Arkansas with my mama and papa, which they were my grandmother's parents. And one thing that they had is that they had satellite. And the only experience I had as a little kid is one channel that got my attention when I was a little kid was none other than Nickelodeon. I started watching Nickelodeon when I was in Arkansas until sadly Grandma decided to move to Indiana, and I miss Nickelodeon back then. But when I was in Indiana, I started watching more TV, and I've been flipping through three different channels during my years of my youth. I watch everything on Fox. I watch whatever was on Star 64. And of course, I also watch PBS. They showed some pretty good kids show, and of course, that's where Sesame Street started. And of course, one thing I know about PBS, back then, that's where most of the British shows starts appearing. Keeping Up Appearances, Are You Being Served, and of course, Doctor Who. But I wasn't into Doctor Who back then because, like I mentioned before, on my Sylvester McCoy era, when I saw the Fenwick episode, it scared the hell out of me and kept assuming that Doctor Who was a horror series that I didn't watch at all until I got older. But I've been juggling between those three channels back then when we just had just local cable. And I always remember watching everything on Fox. I mean, there was Fox Kids. That's where I saw the Batman animated series and the X-Men cartoons, and also Spider-Man and tons of other cartoons that I always been binge that I've been watching every Sunday afternoon. Oh yeah, and I also did watch a few cartoons on Sunday afternoon. Thanks to Disney, I watch shows on ABC. Until around the and then around the late 90s, that's when my grandma and grandpa decided to have cable for the first time, and we had Prime Star before they changed it to DirecTV. Now, DirecTV was one of the channels that I was hooked to while I was growing up. And and it made me forget about Fox, Star 64 and PBS, but I was juggling over the other channels that I started to watch when I was really young. I started watching the Disney Channel because they were showing some stuff from ABC to Disney. And I wish they had Nickelodeon, but I found this other channel that pretty much started its fame, Cartoon Network. And when Cartoon Network first started, it was showing reruns of the old cartoons back in the 60s, 70s, and 80s until all those cartoons all of a sudden became Boomerang, while Cartoon Network started showing some new cartoons called Cartoons. And then they finally brought Nickelodeon back into DirecTV, and it was like seeing an old friend in my in my infancy. And I started watching some of the cartoons from Nickelodeon that they showed, like Adventures of Pete and Pete. Clarissa Explains It All. That's where I had a huge crush on Melissa Joan Hart. And of course, I watched a lot of Nickelodeon cartoons like Ren and Stimpy, Rico's Modern Life, and of course, Cartoon Network. I started watching Dexter's Laboratory, Johnny Bravo. Um, Also, they show some new Looney Tunes from those channels. I mean, in Nickelodeon, they showed Looney Tunes and they call them Looney Tunes, but on Cartoon Network they call them the Daffy and Bugs and Daffy show. And that's when I was more embracing more of um of the classic Looney Tunes. And I kept thriving through these channels. I always kept switching from one channel to the next, see what is on Disney, what is on Cartoon Network, and of course Nickelodeon. And I remember one thing I remember on Nickelodeon, there was this Snick for teenagers, and that's when I started watching this one show that made me wish I was in, because back then Nickelodeon was in Universal Studios, where that's where they do their game show and their filming at, and most people love to go to to Orlando, Florida, but sadly it's no longer there anymore because they moved to California. But there was one show I wish I was a part of before I start noticing behind the scenes scandals going on there. I wanted to be part of all that, because all that was like a Saturday Night Live for teenagers and kids, and I wish I was a part of it because I always wanted to be a funny comedian, and I thought I would have start in and all that, and probably move up to Saturday Night Live. It's Saturday Night Live with your host, Michael A. Grimm! But, sadly, my grandma couldn't pay the bill of DirecTV since 2006. So, after I graduated from high school, my grandma and I kept collecting all the DVDs until I demanded grandma that we should have internet, so she ordered a Wi-Fi, and I went through the internet until I come across a certain things that changed my life forever. YouTube. And when I started watching YouTube, I was amazed of seeing random people making their own videos and even starting their own career on YouTube. I mean, it's just like I said, hooray for YouTube! A greatest place is YouTube. A channel you can do your thing without getting sued for a legal point of view. But of course, there are some copyright claims on YouTube, so they are a little strict. But at least it gives me the chance to make my own videos because I still had the imagination of, creating my own things and also, extended my talent. So, thanks to YouTube, pretty much made it happen for me. Love you, YouTube. But anyway, now the streaming service started showing up. And I've been hearing a lot of stuff about Netflix, and that's when the first streaming service first started. But sadly, my grandma was so stubborn to order Netflix because even though it was kind of cheap, but she was still stubborn. She only sticks with DVDs and YouTube. Even though you don't watch a full movie on YouTube, because most of the full movies that YouTube have, they're mostly up close or short screened, or even blurred in the middle with some music in the background, so you don't so it's not like a full movie to watch. I think it's stupid, but my grandma just didn't listen. And then that's when the tragedy happened. About over 6 or 7 years ago, when my grandma passed away, I started moving with my aunt for a while, and then I moved here to my mom's, and this is when the streaming service I finally got myself into. I discover that my mom got herself into Amazon Prime, and that's why she ordered most of her stuff from Amazon. And then I discovered Hulu. Now, of course, I discovered it on the internet, and I did watch some shows on it before they removed it until they started letting you have an account for it in order for you to watch some YouTube stuff. But I did watch some YouTube there. Used to watch Netflix for a while until couldn't afford it anymore, so we stopped. But here's the channel that I pretty much have an account for, and I do subscribe to it. Tubi. I love Tubi. And I was so amazed that Tubi has a whole entire selection of movies and TV shows that you can watch for free. And one good thing I know about Tubi is that they have a lot of B-rated movies, and also they even brought some good old A-rated movies, but they only stick around for a while until they remove them for another movie. But one thing I've been noticing, they've been bringing in some of the cartoons from Cartoon Network into Tubi all of a sudden. So I've been binge watching the classic Looney Tunes, Tasmania, Animaniacs, Pinky and the Brain, and tons of others. So I don't have to get myself on HBO Max anymore. And I also found another channel I also describe to is of course Pluto. It's kind of like cable in a way, but there's also movies and shows that you can watch on demand. So Pluto TV is pretty cool. And then I discovered that wasn't enough. I wanted to find something else, something that would interest me. I mean, something that is like YouTube but in the audio way. And there I discovered SoundCloud. I downloaded most of my Doctor Who and, of course, my Flash Gordon and Buck Rogers audio until SoundCloud wanted me to do an upgrade, which that's going to cost me extra, so I stopped uploading. But I did upload a couple of my other audios on Spotify. I was happy that Spotify had most of the Big Finish episodes of Doctor Who. And some radio shows, which I can just easily find on YouTube. The old-fashioned, old-time radio ones. And then, after all the streaming, I had a bit of a video game withdrawal. And one good thing that I discovered, that Amazon Prime, they have their own video game channel, which is Luna. Which, surprisingly, I got myself a Luna controller. I keep it in the box, but I do bring out the console every time when I want to play some games. And I've been playing Hogwarts Legacy for a long time. I mean, I'm really hooked on Hogwarts Legacy. And of course, there's also another channel called Free Game by Playworks. I get to play Pac-Man in that game. But also, another thing, I wanted to play some retro old games, so I got myself the 4K Game Stick Pro. I got myself one of these. It has like over 40,000 retro video games, and I've been playing old retro games non-stop because of this. And I know there are tons of different volumes, and of course there's ones that have some PlayStation and Sega Dreamcast versions, but I'm waiting until I can afford those, but right now I'm happy with this, except a little snag I do have on this. It says it has PlayStation 1 games, but the problem is, most of those PlayStation games, they have no musical background, or even a cutscene. No cutscene, no musical background in this. So, that is a bummer to me. Hate to play games with no background music or even a cutscene. That sucks. And yes, for those of you who are going to be asking me, yeah, I'm aware of OnlyFans. And one thing I heard about that is for wannabe adult actors I mean, it's like YouTube for wannabe adult stars. Except you had to pay for it to watch their videos, so they'll get paid for making their videos. And it depends on whoever watches their videos. But I don't want to get into that, and I don't think anybody else should. But right now, this is my talk about the streaming service and channel of today. There are some things I do miss back in the old days, but sometimes they've been doing some new stuff that I'm kind of being a little. Uh, mm. And of course, this whole hiatus with the Doctor Who has been going on lately. One thing I'm really happy about is that even though Tubi removed the classic Doctor Who, but you can find a few on Pluto TV. But now on YouTube, you can find the full episodes on YouTube of Doctor Who on YouTube. So I'm like, thank you, YouTube. Love you, YouTube. Anyway, this is my experience, my speech for the day. If any of you like this video that I talked about my experience, please leave a comment down below, hit like and subscribe for more. And I'm the multi-voice reviewer. I remember so I can jog your memory.